The centerpiece of Coldwind Farm, the farmhouse, stood proudly over the fields of golden corn for decades. After the horrific events of 1972, the building fell into disrepair and eventual ruin. The farmhouse is now nothing more than a forgotten former home where holidays were once celebrated. That's right, if you haven't figured it out by now, today on Surviving the Fog, we're going to be looking at the totem spawns of Coldwind Farms, the Thompson House. But before we get into that, for those who don't know, we do stream throughout the week at twitch.tv/Parklis. So come on by if you have any questions, if you want to say hey, or, just whatever, we're going to be around. Now, if you're new to Dead by Daylight or you're not quite sure what these videos are about, what we do is every single map has a large collection of totems that can possibly spawn on each map. When a trial starts, the game will randomly select 5 of these totems and place them throughout the map. What we aim to do here is show you each and every possible totem spawn location. So if you happen to be looking for any of these dull totems for one of your challenges, or if you just have to fill up your inner strength, you'll know exactly where to look the next time you're in the Thompson House. So to make it easier for you guys, we're going to break this video down into a couple sections. There's going to be the outer kind of wilderness corn junk tiles. There's going to be the jungle gym tiles, and then there's going to be the main tiles. Now, the main tiles are what will always spawn on the map in exactly the same spot. So this way you'll know where to look if you happen to be in these key points. For the Thompson House, it's going to be something like the cow tree, it's going to be the combine, and it's going to be, the shack and the Thompson House itself. So here's a couple timestamps for you so you can easily move around if you need to figure out some specific totems. Now, without further ado, let's look in today's episodes of Surviving the Fog, Coldwind Farms, the Thompson House. Now, the first totem we're going to look at here is going to be the set of totems that spawn out in the corn. Now, these are probably some of the hardest totems to spot in most of all of the Coldwind maps, in my opinion, because they kind of blend in very nicely to the corn. However, there is a bonus to note. The corn spawns in 3 specific patterns. There's the diagonal crosshatch, which is this first one. Then there's the wavy kind of section, and then the straight parallel up and down ones. So in this cross section, you're going to notice that it'll go top left, bottom right, top right, bottom left, and meet in the middle somewhere. Now, the totem isn't where they meet in the middle. It's on one of these sections kind of towards the edge of the tile itself. Now, the next one we're going to look at is going to be the wavy pattern of corn. This is the corn that kind of goes straight, but then kind of peeks in toward the center and then comes back down, kind of like a little bump. Now, the similarity between all of these is that the totems are going to spawn usually inside one of the stalks of corn themselves, or a cluster of them. So again, this is more just give you a general idea of where to find them, and the fact that they will spawn in the corn that is usually in the middle of the map here in Thompson House, or on the sides of other maps. So in the wavy section, you'll notice that there's this first row, and then if you cut up to the second row just before the bump, you're going to notice that the totem's hiding right in that little pocket. Now, the last section of the corn is going to be the straight up and down. This is a little bit easier to notice because there's a little section in the center that's kind of cut out that usually a generator will spawn in. So you'll see a generator spawn there. Sometimes you'll see a chest, a hook, that kind of stuff. So it's pretty basic. In the center of the section with that cutout where the generator will spawn, the totem is actually right next to it. So either on the left or the right side, depending on which way you're facing, just take a little peek right near that hole. All right, the next tile we're going to look at is the infamous hill. Now, the hill, you'll notice, or you probably know already, is featured on many other outdoor maps. And just like many of the other outdoor maps, this hill can also spawn a totem. Unlike some maps, it's not guaranteed, but it is still there. Now, going up the path, instead of being tucked in the corner next to the rocks, due to the rework of the map and the updated visuals, the rock actually has a little platform now, and the totem will spawn on that platform. It can be a little tricky to get to as the geometry is as right now. All right, now the next set of tiles we're going to look at are the junk tiles, which is the collection of hay bales that are scattered all throughout the map. So this one has, you'll notice, some corn stalks and kind of like a tent looking form, and a bunch of hay bales that are cylindrical and rectangular. Now in the center of this tile, you'll notice 2 stacks of 2 cylindrical hay bales and 2 stacks of 2 rectangular hay bales that look a little phallic in nature. Unfortunately, that's where our totem is going to spawn. If you go to the little peak where the 2 cylindricals meet the rectangular, it's tucked away right there in one of those corners. So yeah. Now the next tile we're going to look at is very noticeable because of the towering stacks of cylindrical hay bales that are, laying horizontally. There are some rectangulars here, but most notable are the cylindrical hay bales. Now the totem here is going to be facing the inside of the tile. You'll see the larger stack of cylindrical hay bales that has a pillar of cylindrical hay bales, and that makes a little corner for this totem to spawn in. Now, as you can see, the hatch can also spawn here as well, but it's kind of tucked away. There might be a generator here sometimes. All right, now on the other side of the hay bales, we had the cylindrical. Now we have the large pile of rectangular hay bales. And other than the phallic one earlier, this might be the easiest one to find out of all of them, as it is facing the outside of the tile. So where all these rectangular hay bales are stacked, there'll be one in particular that from overhead looks like a large arrowhead or tip of an arrow. At the flat base of this triangle, you're going to find that the totem is going to be spawned there in a little corner between all of this nonsense. It's the larger stack. You can't really miss it. All right, now the next set of tiles we're going to look at is very similar to a lot of tiles that are in many of the other outdoor maps, just using the assets of the realm. In this case, you're going to have boxes, trailers, and, you guessed it, hay bales. This one's very familiar to most of you. It is a 2-lane with a diagonal pallet drop and sometimes a chest, and why else would be here but a totem. So this one's most noticeable by the unhitched trailer that is kind of at an angle. At the tip of where you would hitch the trailer, that is where your totem's going to spawn, right next to this box right here. Now this next tile is a very interesting one. I first thought that this was going to be our guaranteed totem for the map. Unfortunately, it's not. I did notice that the totem tends to spawn in this tile a lot, and there can be multiple of this tile in a single trial. This one's most noticeable by the tractor and the long boards that make up the section of part of the loop here, and that's covered in the blue tarp. Very noticeable because of the blue tarp. And in the corner on the inside of the tile where these boards meet hay bales, you're going to find that totem. But again, this tile can spawn several times, so keep an eye out. Now this next tile is another one of those tiles that are taken from other maps, just reassigned with the assets of the realm. This is a single lane loop with, again, taking those long wood boards from the other tile with the blue tarp and stacking it on top of itself. This tile extends a little bit outside of that. You'll notice there's a truck and some other debris on the corners. Now the totem here is actually going to be at the front of the truck where the water barrels kind of meet next to it, and tucked away next to the door is going to be your totem. All right, as we move into the jungle gym tiles, we're going to start with the obligatory and the most well-known of any of these, probably, is going to be your standard jungle gym. This is the one where a generator can spawn in the inside next to the walls. There's going to be a pallet, and then diagonal from that pallet is going to be a window. There's going to be multiple openings to get here, couple lockers. There can be a hook here. Very well-known tile, and this one's no different. It just has the look of Coldwind. And just like in many of the other versions of this tile on other realms, this totem is going to be tucked in the corner on the side of the pallet on the inside where this little wood outcrop sticks out going towards the window. Moving further into the jungle gym tiles, we have a very similar to the standard jungle gym, and this is probably the most powerful of the bunch, the long wall jungle gym. This is most noticeable by the pallet on the opposite end of the standard jungle gym, and where that opening is is going to be your window on the long wall of this tile rather than straight ahead on the short 90-degree L-shaped wall. This totem is very similar, going to be in much of the same place as the other one, where on the interior where the generator can spawn in that little outcropping C section. On this time, the side of the pallet, that's where your totem's going to be. Continuing with the obligatory jungle gym tiles, we have the long wall, short wall. This is in the namesake. It has on the where the pallet is between two sections of wall. One of those sections of wall is a shorter wall with a little 90-degree corner or little L-shaped, and then the long wall, which has kind of a bucket shape, and the pallet is smacked right in between those. If you go more towards the inside of that tile, there is another bucket shaped section of wood that's kind of in the shape of a C, which people sometimes call this the C gym, and right behind that water barrel in the C section is going to be your totem. All right, finishing up the jungle gym tile is going to be the famous L wall, T wall. This is obvious by it is split up into two sections of wall here. One of them has a long wall with a window that jets off in one corner to look like an L, and the other one has the long wall with the window that is in the middle of another wall to form the shape of a T. These two windows are diagonal from each other, and just like on many of the other L wall, T walls, this totem is going to be in the middle of the T wall on the inside of the tile between two barrels. So keep an eye out for that one. Shouldn't be hard to miss. All right, now one of the most famous tiles in all of Coldwind Farms is the repeating tile of the pig tree, the cow tree, the big tree, depends on what you call it. There's livestock hanging from this tree. Now it is noticeable because it is a giant tree on the map. It has a pallet, it has a window, it has a bunch of stones. Super easy to spot. Now the totem here is going to be on the pallet side. Next to the pallet on the outside of the tile, there's this little C section of rocks. Tucked in the corner is going to be your totem. So keep an eye out when you're looping the killer here. Now the next main tile we're going to look at is the combine, the tractor, the hay baler, the heavy piece of farming equipment, whatever you want to call it. It is large, it sticks out, you've seen it, you know what it is. It has been on both versions of the map, and the totems are here to stay. So this first one is, we're going to look at the lower sections and then the upper section because there are multiple totems that spawn on this piece of equipment. The first one is if you're looking at the front, which is the ramp up, go to the back left, and tucked behind this tire next to a hay bale is going to be your first totem. All right, now continuing with the lower section of this combine. Again, it's going to be on the lower section. And as you can see, it's actually going to be, when you look at the front of the combine, the front being where the ramp to go up to the upper section is, if you take a right this time instead of a left and go back around to the back side of the piece of equipment, it's going to be back there all the way at the back. It's pretty easy to spot depending on which angle you look at it, up against this hay bale in this corner. If it's not lit, it can kind of blend into the ground, so keep an eye out. Well, if you thought we were done with just two, you are gravely mistaken. We are going to keep going, and we won't be done here. So totem number 3 is an interesting one. So we got the two on the back. Again, we're going to tell you how to get there from if you're facing the front of the combine. The front being the ramp that goes up to the upper section here. This one is going to be on the right section of the tractor heavy piece of equipment, and actually right in front of the ramp, tucked in front of the front tire here on the right. That's going to be your first totem down here. All right, now I know what you're thinking. All right, that is 3 totems on the ground on this one tile that is always here. This has to be a guaranteed spawn. It's not. There's not always going to be a totem at the combine. High likelihood, yes. And you might be thinking, all right, that's got to be it with the lower part. We got to be moving up that ramp. Nope. As you can see, if you're facing the combine and on the left side of the ramp, right at the front, in front of the left tire, is going to be this totem right here. So lots of totems, and we're just almost done. All right, everyone. The moment's finally here. You have made it, not to the next section of tiles, but to the next section of this tile. That's right. We are going upstairs to the top of the combine here. Now, as you are facing the combine, which is the side with the ramp, go up the ramp this time. And your first totem on the upper deck is going to be immediately to your right, just before the vault there. It's a little hard to spot if you're running really quickly, so just take half a second and just take a quick glance. All right, this is it. I swear, this is the last totem on this piece of machinery. We're not going to look at it again. I'm sorry you're going to have to look at it the next time you're in a Coldwind map, but now you know where, that's right, 6 totems are. 6 totems in this one tile. Again, we're going to go up the ramp from the front, and instead of it being on the right, this one's going to be on the left in the little driver cage here. So right when you get up to the top, you'll see it. You can't miss it. Easy to spot. All right, we're moving on to the next one. Let's look at the shack next. All right, change of scenery. We are no longer looking at heavy farm equipment. That's right, we are looking at the obligatory shack. The shack being the killer shack, one of the main points on almost every single map. Most of the maps have this shack. You know it, you love it, or you hate it. Very simple. A generator can spawn here. It is noticeable because it is a square building that has 2 doors, a window, a pallet, and sometimes the basement. The totem here is going to be on the pallet side up against the wall, right next to a wheelbarrow. Very similar to other maps. All right, thank you everybody who has made it this far. And you might be saying to yourself, Parklis, what are you doing? There's still a little bit of time left. Why? Anyway, this is the start of the main house tile. There are several totems in here, but I just want to thank you all. And if you appreciated this, a like is always helpful. If you want to know when we come out with more of these, make sure you sub to the channel. I hope this is very informative as we move our way into the Thompson house proper. Like I said, there are several totems here. The first ones we're going to be looking at are going to be your downstairs totems, and then the next one is obviously going to be the upstairs. So hope you enjoyed it as we move inside the Thompson house. Now the first floor of the Thompson house has several rooms. There's the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom, and the den. So this first totem is actually going to be downstairs behind the stairs, and you're going to go into the kitchen. Now the kitchen is, as you can see here, going to be go to the right or left, but behind it and right next to the window, kind of like the dining room area, that's going to be where your totem's going to be. So easy to spot if you go into the house. Otherwise, take a quick look. Continuing inside the first floor of the house, we are going now to the main house bathroom. This is in the back of the house. If you come through the main entrance, which is the one facing the staircase, all the way in the back on the left side is going to be your bathroom. Now you'll notice that there is some toiletry stuff in here. Next to the bathtub in the back corner of said bathroom near the back door there is going to be your totem. So you may have to pop in here, but don't get trapped because there's really no way out. All right, as we finish up the first floor of the Thompson house, we've been to the kitchen, we've been to the bathroom, we skipped the dining room type area. We're actually going to go into the living room. Now, the living room is as you enter the Thompson house from the front, which is the door in front of the stairs. To the right is going to be your living room, family room, whatever you call it in your area. I call this the living room. It has the fireplace. Next to the fireplace in the corner, your totem's going to be there. So keep an eye out if you're running through. All right, as we finish up here on the last and final totem, this is going to be upstairs on the second floor of the Thompson house. I thought there was going to be more totems on the upstairs. If there are, please let me know. I did many games. I could not find a second one. I still believe there's one up there, but who knows? Maybe I am just completely wrong and hopeful that they had more variety, because there are several rooms here. Now, if you remember the old Thompson house, the stairs came up to this little open hallway type thing that led to both rooms. Well, this totem's super easy to spot, I guess. As soon as you come up the stairs, you have two choices, left or right. If you go right and go to around, you come to this smaller little bedroom area that used to have a bunch of boxes in it. Now it's just a bedroom that leads out to the upper porch slash patio area, balcony, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of different ways to say things. Well, if you go up the stairs and to the right in that bedroom, that's where your totem is going to be. So it can be hard to miss if you never take a right and you always go left, or if you jump down. So hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, remember, stay safe out there in the fog.